Hello everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me as well as see the presentation. Right? Just confirm if everything is good from my side in the chat so that I know that things are good from my side so that I can start in a minute. Also, it'll be great if we can just drop a line, just a single line about what you're trying to do in terms of higher studies or IELTS and all, so that I know the audience that we have. Like, are you looking for work or are you looking for study? So that I know the general training and academic training students as well. Something wrong with my chat. Can someone just revert back? Great, Tejal. Thank you. What about others? Like, we're expecting a few more students to join. Before that, let's start in a minute. We'll start by 10:05. It'll be good if you just drop a line to, say, like, are you looking for academic, as in, like, the university admissions, or are you looking for the work immigration purpose? Okay, Anushri. Okay. Many people seem to be for the work. Anyone here for academics, university admissions, and all? Higher studies? Okay. Great. Right. In abroad, you can see you clear, like, great. Uh, Sangeeta, we will not focus a lot on the study abroad part. It will be more on the IELTS, but we have another webinar which is already there on our YouTube. Also, we'll keep doing it. Keep following us. You'll get updates that we do also on the study abroad. Like, we can find in our channel about USA. We did a webinar on study in USA. We also did a webinar on study abroad across the world, like UK, Canada, Germany, and all. You can watch that. So great. So let's get started. Before we start, just a brief introduction about our team. So I'm Jaydeep, one of the founder of this company, GT Cube. So I've done my engineering from BITS Pilani and then MBA from IIM Kozhikode. Worked for a couple of years as a consultant and then I quit to start this company. So I have a couple of my friends who have joined me in this journey, Madhav and Bulipi. They are also very much passionate about education. Look, we believe that with the help of technology, we can do a lot in education space. This is just a start where we are looking at study abroad. We're also getting into upskilling in other areas soon. But yeah, so that's a core team where we have taken exams like CAT, GRE, GMAT, and we ourselves have been training students over the last few years. Coming to our IELTS expert, she's Megha Shukla. She has more than 5 years of experience in IELTS. So she has trained 1,000+ students, and the best part is that most of our students have scored their desired band, be it academic or general, right in the first attempt, right? So that's about us. So what are we going to do in this session, right? So let's first understand that. So just get you a sense of what exactly are we going to talk about. So the first and foremost question is, we'll try to help you figure out if you should take IELTS. There are a couple of reasons why I think it's very important. Number one, some people might not need IELTS for their goals. So people who are not clear about it, I hope we'll try to give a better clarity and might help you to figure out if IELTS is the exam for you or not. Number two, it's that there are other exams like TOEFL and PT as well. So which one should I choose? So for some cases, both of them, all three of them could do the job, but then what should I choose and why? So something that's what we try to show with some more information and data. That's what the second one will also help you to understand the difference between the IELTS, TOEFL, and PTE and what would suit based on what your requirement is. The third is the very basic thing about academic and general training, because there are two IELTS tests. The fourth, we're going to talk in depth about the IELTS exam pattern. So what is this listening, reading, writing, speaking? What do they test? How do they test? Right? What should I do? What skills are being checked, etc., etc. Then finally, we'll also get into the preparation part. So the first and foremost, a very important question we feel that we should have help you answer or understand is this. So can I prepare for IELTS on my own? Right? The answer is yes or no for that. We'll talk about that in depth. For whom, what is yes, and for whom it's no. I'll explain that. But then we'll talk about some resources which you can use to prepare for IELTS, and then finally we're going to get into FAQs, three frequently asked questions which we keep getting from the students. So we have put them. I'm just telling you in upfront so that you know that that question is being tackled later. Number one, British Council versus IDP. Which one should I go? So basically, if you don't know what these are, don't worry. I'm going to talk about them. So some people who know it, I'm just saying that we are going to get into this discussion of British Council versus IDP. Next, computer-based versus paper-based. Which one should I choose? And finally, recently the IELTS has started since COVID. That's basically May. IELTS indicator test, which is basically a test you can take the IELTS at home, right? So should I take it? What is the difference between the actual IELTS test and the IELTS indicator test? So I'm going to talk about that as well. Finally, I'll keep the platform open for the questions. So whatever the questions you have, could be about IELTS, TOEFL, GRE, study abroad, right? Though I'm not a perfect expert for immigration, to be frank, but if there's something I can add, I can also help a bit on that. But you can ask me anything, if your profile related or anything. If I can add value, I'll definitely take it up and answer it. Even if I don't know, I'll at least let you know that I'm not the right person, might guide you, who could be the companies or the teams that you can look at. So this is what we're going to do here. Sometimes I might not take up the questions that you post in between the session. That is because if I believe it could be taking away from the discussion, I'll not take it. But then don't worry, all your questions will be answered at the end. I'll not end the session without answering any of the questions. If I can answer it, I'll definitely say. Otherwise, I'll tell you also that sorry, I do not know the answer. Perfect. Right, so let's start the session. So first one, as I said, should you take IELTS or not? Can someone tell me what is the meaning of IELTS, like full form of IELTS? It's an abbreviation. So IELTS, what does IELTS stand for? Can anyone give a shot at it? Right, not that's very important, but just to there's no harm in also trying it. What is IELTS? You don't lose anything if you say it wrong. If you say it right, I'll give you an appreciation. So I think this is okay. Yes, great, great. Like two of you, both of you got right. So IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. So basically, they're testing your English language. That's what it's basically about. So it tests the proficiency of the people who wants to study or work where English is used as a language of communication. So IELTS is scored from 0 to 9 or 1 to 9. So we have obviously never seen a 0, but yes, so like the score from 1 to 9. They don't give like 10 30 percentage or something out of 100 or something. It's rather on a band of 1 to 9 or 0 to 9, whatever you call it. Generally we see at least 4, right? You don't see people getting less than 4 generally. So this is how they grade. How do they get that? I'll get to that later, right? How do I get 9 8 or 7? What actually gives me a particular score? So IELTS is available in a lot of places across the world to take the test. It's most widely accepted English language proficiency test. This is an important point. So English language proficiency tests are basically the IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, right? You also got Duolingo recently. So a lot of companies are coming up with their own tests, which basically say that I can test and judge a candidate's English proficiency. So they are called ELPs, English language proficiencies tests, and IELTS is the most widely accepted. It is accepted by almost 11,000 organizations across the world. TOEFL would be the close second, which is fine, and PT is very far behind them. These are the top three. If you compare to all the exams that are there in ELP, these are the top three which are attempted by most of the people. But IELTS is the most widely accepted, the most widely taken exam in the world, and most widely accepted exam in the world for this purpose of English language proficiency. Right. So the question, as I said, the very important one: should you take IELTS or not? Right. So there are two possible questions for which if your answer is yes, you should look at IELTS. Otherwise, the answer should be no for you. Number one, are you planning to pursue higher studies in foreign countries where you want to have a medium of instruction as English? For example, US, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, even in Europe. So Germany and Europe, if you let's say you're talking about Germany, you're trying to apply for a German university, you would apply for a university where the course is in English. So when the course is taught in English, you are expected to prove your English proficiency. They expect you to apply with your IELTS score. If you're talking about applying for a German university with German language as medium of instruction, obviously they would ask you to show a German certificate, right? A1, A2, B1, B2 levels. You need to show that proficiency of C1 and C2, whatever the requirement is to get into that. But otherwise, if you are planning to do your bachelor's or master's or PhD in one of these countries where English is the medium of instruction, all the universities would ask you to prove your English proficiency. For example, UK, there are some universities which say that yes, you can apply without IELTS exam or any ELP, English language proficiency, provided that you have taken 10th, 12th and undergrad in English, which is what most of the Indians do, right? But I will tell you, from since 2020 October, so that's a new rule, the visa rule has come up, the point system for UK embassy has started. For 2021 admits and all, you should take IELTS. That's a mandatory thing. You should have an admit from university, you should have an IELTS score, and you should have financial supporting documents. So all three of them count into your visa process. So basically, even for UK now, it's not a possibility where I can go without taking IELTS. So you should take IELTS for all these countries basically, or any English language proficiency for other countries. So that's what this is about. The second type is people who wants to immigrate, to a foreign country for a job and then settle down there with a PR and then maybe get a citizenship and all second thing. But yeah, so it is accepted by countries like Canada, very famous in the recent times, Australia, New Zealand, and UK for the PR and its oral process. These are the two reasons. If you think so, yes, I want to pursue my higher studies, or I want to go and get a job over there and settle down with a PR and then maybe get a citizenship or maybe whatever, you need to take IELTS as an exam or an ELP depending on the country you're looking at. If you are looking at doing your masters in India or trying to get into some job in India, maybe trying to get into some other company, let's say Germany, might not require you, but rather they have other expectations. So you have to figure out accordingly. For these two cases, if the answer is yes for you, then you should look at IELTS, right? I hope that's a bit clear for you. If not, I think if you're not looking at any of this, then the rest of the session will not make sense for you. So that's something that you should also understand. So now the second point, right? The difference between the IELTS, TOEFL, and PT. So let's get to that. I don't want to get into too much of details on this. So I'll just touch upon the important points. The first and foremost important point is that IELTS is the only test which lets you take a paper-based one. The rest all are computer-based. Even IELTS has a computer-based test, but you can choose between paper and computer based, right? So if you want to take a paper based, IELTS is the only test that offers you that. So that's because maybe some people prefer to read the passages, would want to do it physically, might want to write it, they cannot face the screen for almost 3 to 4 hours, which is not an easier task for some people. So maybe you're not tech savvy, you're not very comfortable. If any of these are the reasons for you, maybe you can go for a paper based test, and if that is what you're looking at, then IELTS is the test that can do. TOEFL and PTA cannot offer you that. The speaking format, again, IELTS is the only test which lets you which asks you to speak to a person. So if it's a paper based you're taking physically, you're expected to go to a center and do a physical. Otherwise you do it in computer, again with a person. So it's like a video conferencing or a physical thing. Ultimately you have to do a one-on-one conversation with a person for the speaking test. Whereas the TOEFL and PTE, they would ask you to record your voice into a mic. Like they ask you certain questions, a certain task, you're supposed to talk into the mic, it is recorded, and then the evaluator evaluates it later, right? That's like recorded speaking test. So this one, some people prefer basically talking to people in front of them because it's a more lively, it's more realistic, and some people would want to have their own comfort. They're scared of talking to someone they don't know, maybe I might get judged. They have all those perceptions and all going on, which makes them nervous and might not make them perform better. So that way some people would be happier with the recorded test speaking version, right? So that's again a difference you have. It depends on your personal choice, which might help you find some exam better than the other. Again, it's a personal and individual opinions, right? So the recorded speaking test, advantage with that is that you don't have to face a person. The disadvantage is that we get a perception that with heavier accent you'll struggle, because when you speak into a mic and all, the evaluators in TOEFL and PT are a little bit a bit stricter on the heavier accent, whereas IELTS is a little bit lenient on that. So accent, if you have a very heavy accent, right? I'm saying again, if it's a very heavy accent, especially PTE penalizes it. So with something IELTS, I have seen some students who have a better or rather heavier accent do better in IELTS or PT. Right? Some people try both also for different reasons. I'll get to that. The duration is pretty much the same. There's not much of a difference. The cost is also the same, nothing much different. The scores are different in terms of the scaling, like 0 to 9, 0 to 120, 0 to 90, but ultimately it doesn't matter. Let's say if I'm talking about Australian immigration points, they give you the highest points, 20 out of 20, if you get 8 in IELTS, and if you get 79 to 82 in your PTE. So basically they have scales. Every system, universities and all would say, you want to apply for my university, minimum IELTS is 6.5, our TOEFL is 90, right? So that's basically they keep a scores for all of this, so they know how much is one score equivalent to other exam score. So that is something that they already know. So not much of a difference, which exam you take and all. The important element is this, that what does IELTS or TOEFL or PT test is basically your listening, reading, writing and speaking. So one thing that I like about IELTS, which for the students' ease point of view, is that there are 4 tasks which are all independent tasks. That is, you do a listening, you're supposed to listen to some clips and answer the questions. The reading, you will read something and answer the simple questions, multiple choice or fill in the blanks, etc. etc. Like 1 word, 2 word answer, select an option, etc. Writing, you have to write essays, and speaking, you have to speak on certain topics, right? These are 4 different things that are done individually. When it comes to like TOEFL or PT, for example, they have something called integrated tasks. For example, you are supposed to read a small passage, then write a 2-3 line summary of it, and then also speak the summary or some other question into a mic. So basically, they're first testing your reading skills. If you do not read the passage well and understand it well, obviously your writing and speaking will also not be well. Why? Because you have misunderstood the passage or you could not interpret the passage well. So you don't know the answer for the question that is being asked, and you're trying to write something in your, the writing and the speaking. Even if your writing skills are good, you might not be able to perform it better because they're integrated. They're mixing your reading skills, they're mixing your writing skills and speaking. Sometimes you might be asked to listen to audio clip and then write a question and all. So this is what we call integrated tasks. Basically, even if you're weak in one module, you might affect the other module as well in some cases in TOEFL and PT. Whereas in IELTS, right, let's say you're not good at reading, but you're very good with the listening, writing and speaking, you get a very good score here because these skills does not test your reading skills anyways. Your reading is separate section and they don't have mixing of any of those. So basically that might let you get lesser reading, but you do well in the other things. So that way I find some students who are not overall built well on the all the 4 fronts might struggle a bit on the TOEFL or PT when you have integrated tasks. So that way IELTS again has a little bit of advantage. The validity is all the same for all 3 of them. And the score report comes very much within 5-6 days for all of these exams. If you take a computer based, if you take a paper based, it takes a little bit more. That's another week. So you have to wait for 2 weeks, right? That's what you'll find it. So these are the minor differences you see in IELTS, TOEFL and PT. Though they look minor, but they're pretty much big depending on what suits your strengths and all. So what is my take or our take on which one should I take? It all depends on what's your goal. Based on the acceptance, based on our experience, we'll give you a simple answers for this, though it's not very simple. For USA, I would say you will not go wrong with TOEFL or IELTS. For academic purpose, I'm talking about for university applications and all, I would say there are some universities like Stanford, for example, the top universities especially, which ask or accept only TOEFL. Otherwise, leaving that, the rest of the 98 to 99% of universities in US would accept IELTS as well. So you can take one of the IELTS or TOEFL, right? But again, if you ask me, I am sure on going to US and I only want to take one exam and I don't want to miss on any university because I don't know what I'm going to apply tomorrow. You will not go wrong with TOEFL, right? That's one answer I can tell you. But the only thing, again, as I said, you also have to check which one suits you better to get a decent score, right? But otherwise, I think USA has a tendency towards accepting more TOEFL. But as I said, again, it is matter of few universities, but still it is there. That is something you have to keep in mind. Let's say you want to go to UK for be it for academics or be it for immigration. There's no doubt, no discussion. IELTS is the test you need to take. That's what UK stresses upon. Canada is also pretty clear about it. IELTS is for what you'll accept for your PR purposes as well as your academic purposes. That's most widely accepted. Some universities, even in Canada, UK, can accept TOEFL. They do, but again, as I said, not as wide as the IELTS. For Australia, PT or IELTS, both of them do well. But I'll tell you, for immigration purpose, I see a lot of people going for PTE for the reason that they find it to be easier to score the required band over the IELTS. This is what I have observed for the immigration purpose. Again, it's a personal choice. I will tell you, no one can find one exam easier than other. It is an individual understanding of what your skills are and accordingly decide what suits you. But I think still for immigration, the trend is that people choose PTE more over IELTS. For academic, either of them do well. All the universities accept both. There's no much of a difference, so you won't go wrong with either of the exams. For Germany and Europe, again, if any universities ask for it, it's IELTS that would suit you for all the universities. So that's one exam you can take. And the best part about IELTS, I'll tell you out of all, is that even if you plan to go to UK, Germany, you want to keep your options open, you want to decide it later, you have all these countries open. Right? Let's say you've taken TOEFL, you'll struggle when you start applying for other countries because they're not as widely accepted as IELTS. Right? When you start to apply for Australia and then you gave a PT, let's say tomorrow you want to apply for UK also, but then you can't do well with PT in the UK. Right? There are universities which accept, But then again, as I said, the university's number and the percentage is very high for IELTS, so people will not go wrong with IELTS. If you are someone who is open to look at multiple countries, I think you can just blindly go for IELTS. But if you're very sure on just the USA academic purpose, TOEFL could solve the problem. Very much sure on Australia for immigration purpose or even the admission purpose, I think PT is a good option that you can look at. Right, so this is something like a basic table that you can look at to understand what suits you. But again, I'll tell you, look at the pattern, take maybe some of one or two tests that you can find at least to understand the pattern and see what suits you better, right? So that you judge which one is better if you're really confused about this. So let's move to the next one. That's the general and academic training. So basically there are two tests. I will not spend too much on time. So academic and general training. So academic test is for people who wants to pursue studies, right? So they want to go to university and this is what they accept. But it's a very important thing to understand that don't write general training if your goal is to apply for universities. Universities will not accept it. They are clear. It's very clear. The academic test is the test that's created for people who wants to apply to universities. So you need to make sure you take the academic test. It's not the same score. Don't assume I take general training test and I'll just apply it with that score for universities. And the other way around. The general training is for those who wants to get work or some programs, training programs or internships or something in English speaking countries. Again, if you try to take academic test and use that and apply, maybe you will not be accepted. You will not be accepted. So the companies would not ask for that. They ask for general training. So that way you will face a problem unless some companies might be open to accept both, or some organizations. I'll be very clear in saying that look at your purpose and don't mismatch it, right? Obviously, because it's a 15,000 test, 14,000 odd, but it's a very silly thing to make a mistake where you take academic test when you want general training. The purpose is to go for work, PR purpose, immigration purpose, it is general training. The purpose is to go for studies, it is academic training or academic test that you need to take, right? That's what you need to understand. So now what's the pattern, right? We have talked about the IELTS, okay, the general academic and all. So let's get into the pattern. What exactly does the test? First and foremost section you get is listening, right? So there are 40 questions in the listening section. 4 parts into 10 questions each part. So it's 40 questions. Each part is an audio clip of generally 5 to 7 minutes. So they have different contexts. The first part is like a conversation between two people set in everyday social context. For example, you are in UK, let's say you're calling a gym reception and you're asking them about the membership, the timings, etc, etc. That will be the conversation that two persons will be having, and then they'll have questions to fill, right? Okay, they say where is the gym located, they say we are located in 19 Brooklyn Street. So you will be asked a blank to write the address of the gym, so you should write 19 Brooklyn Street. So you should write exactly the way the audio clip was, so that you would get marks for it, right? So it's a basic conversation, you're supposed to listen and write the answers. The second is a monologue set up in everyday social context, like some, for example, there's a counselor who's coming to your class and then giving some options that are available, etc, etc. Then the third is conversation up to 4 people. This is where, see, if you see, the difficulty keeps increasing. Okay, the first to the last clip, the audio difficulty in terms of the the topic being discussed, the conversation, the accent, everything, they try to make it harder for students to answer. Okay, easiest to the hardest as per, but still hardest will not be hard if you're really good with your listening skills. But I'm just saying you, relatively they increase the difficulty. So finally, it will be a monologue in an academic domain, right? So it's like university lecture, etc. So it's the same for academic and general. There are differences in the test actually, but the listening is same. You don't get much of it, not much of it. It's exactly the same. 40 questions, the same audio clips, you listen. There are almost 9 types of questions you can get, but broadly they're same. Okay, they're like multiple choice, matching, some plan, map, diagram, labeling, form, note, etc, etc. But I'll tell you, this is where some training would help you, or at least taking the mock test would help you, so that you get used to the pattern. Don't think that it's very easy for me, I'm used to listen to a lot, I just walk into the exam and write it. It's not the right way to have. At least take few mocks if required to make yourself used to these pattern of questions and all, right? Once you get used to it, it's easier to score better and do well in the exam. So that's basically 40 questions. There's no repetition. You can't listen to the audio clip again. They'll be playing. You're supposed to note down the answers. They'll give you a few gaps here and there for you to write down the answers. In paper-based test, you'll also get 10 more minutes to transfer the time. So they'll be saying, okay, you're now given 10 minutes of time to transfer it from your rough sheet to the actual answer sheet. So you won't be getting to listen to the answer, the audio clip again. You just have to just transfer it. That's only the purpose of transferring, writing it again, the 40 questions. They're giving you 10 minutes of time to do that. Right, so that is what listening does. Check your listening skills. Can you able to read, sorry, can you able to comprehend what's being spoken about with the accent and with the English, the speed that they're talking, and that's what they'll check in this. There's no negative marking, which basically means a student should not miss attempting any question. Right, even if you're not sure, at least mark something so that there's a chance that you might make something good out of it, right? So because there's no negative marking in the exam, you should not miss that. So how does the scoring system work, right? So what are the bands that they use and all? So this is what the scoring is. So how do I get 9, 8, 7 based on how many questions I get? So based on how many you get correct out of 40, let's say I got 30 correct, I'll be getting a 7 band in listening. If I get 35 correct, I'll be getting 8 band. If I get all of them correct, so maybe this is not perfectly shown here, but I'll tell you, if you get 39 or 40 correct, even if you make one mistake, you'll end up with 9 band. If you make 2 3 mistakes, that is 37 to 38, you'll be getting 8.5. If you make one, like 36 35, right, you'll be getting 8. So there's half point bands that they keep giving, not exactly like 987. You get 8.5, 7.5 as well in the individual bands. So let's say a student got 35 correct, he'll be getting 8. He got 37 correct, he'll be getting 8.5. Right, that's how they work upon. Right, if you get 23 24 correct, you'll be getting a 6. That's how your listening band score will come. Okay, you got listening 6.5, 7.5, etc. Now coming to the academic reading, there's a difference in reading. There's academic and general training. I'll come to that. The academic reading will have 3 passages. They'll be like 500 to 800 words. You'll find slightly shorter, longer passages, etc. But they are on the longer side for academic. You'll have 3 passages, closer to 800 words. You'll be given 1 hour. There will be 40 questions from the 3 passages, like 13, 13, and 14. That's how they split. 13 questions, 13 questions, and 14 questions. That will be 40. Again, the first passage generally is easier to the last passage being the harder one. You'll have almost 11 types of questions you can see here. Multiple choice, identifying information, identifying the writer's views, claims, etc. etc. Right. Basically, they're testing your reading skills, how well you understood, and then how well can you answer it. But the question types are slightly different, matching headings and all. So again, as I said, practice makes you do well in this. At least take mocks so that you understand what type of questions are asked and accordingly figure out that, right? That's a basic thing I would suggest. So you'll get this. They are taken from the journals, magazines, research papers, etc. Academic readings are harder because the goal is this person is coming to study here. So they would want to make sure the student can actually comprehend the textbook material, right? Research papers, all the high-end stuff that are being written. So even your test will have slightly more research oriented, maybe slightly which are picked up from good quality journals, magazines, newspapers, which would be a difficult one to comprehend over the general training. So to get yourself used, you can start reading material like Economist, Wall Street Journal of Asia, New York Times. Start yourself reading some quality English material and read topics like science, economics, right, history, arts, etc. so that you get used to the type of reading that are being tested in this. Slowly, once you start reading more and more, you find it more easier to read and do the questions. Right? Again, 40 questions, no negative marking. So obviously makes sense for you to attempt as all the questions, obviously. So that's what academic reading does. What is the difference in general training? You'll have 3 sections, but technically you'll have generally 5 to 6 passages. Each section will have 2 to 3 texts, short texts. They are like basically very short piece of information that they give. So section 1 has 3, 2, section 2 has 2 texts, and section 3 is 1 long text, right? That's how they have almost 5 6 reading passages you'll have. What do you get here, right? They'll be very simple, like day-to-day life stuff. The number of questions are same, the time is same, the type of questions are same. It's just that the reading material will vary. When it comes to general training, for example, they'll give you, hey, you purchased the washing machine, you got a training manual, read it and answer the questions. Let's say you're going to a shop, they put up a Christmas offer poster, read the offer and then answer them questions. They're very day-to-day life. Let's say your apartment has put up some poster or rather instructions on the garbage disposal. So read it and accordingly answer it, right? Use red color, green color bags. They'll write some things like it. You need to answer them accordingly. This is what they do in general training. Slowly, when you come to the longer text, they'll start to get into again a little bit of books and slightly harder ones. But on the whole, general training material will be way easier to read and understand compared to academic training. Why? Because they are not expecting you to study over there. They check your basic skills, right? Like, can you do social survival? Notices, advertisements. Can you read the workplace material like job descriptions, contracts, etc. In the third section, they'll do a little bit complex one, which is what I said, that they'll give you textbook stuff and all, which is not as hard as academic, but still harder, unsure. Right? So this is how they do general training. And again, if you see the scoring band, you'll obviously observe that academic reading, even if you get lesser number of questions correct, you'll get a higher band. For example, I get 30 correct out of 40, I'm getting a 7 band in the reading. Whereas if you see it, you need to get 34 correct to get 7 band in general training. Because it's easier to score, they've accordingly adjusted the scoring bands as well, right? So here if you see, I get 35 for 8. So if I get 35, 36, I'll get 8, 37, 38, I'll get 8.5. And then if I get 39, 40, I'll be getting 9. But when it comes to general training, even if you make one mistake, you get 39, you'll be moving to 8.5. They are a bit more stricter on this because it's easier to score in general training. But yes, this is how they convert your raw score to the bands for the reading purpose. So the writing, again, let's come to the writing section. There are two tasks. We call them tasks that the writing section has. So there are two. Task 1 is what is different in both academic and general. Task 1 for academic would be, in task 1, they are supposed to write information or detail out the visual information given, like a graph, a table, a chart, a diagram. They'll give you something like a pie chart, a bar graph, or a flow chart or something. You're supposed to explain that in words, in around 150 words. Right? Generally, they recommend you to spend 20 minutes on it. There is no separate timer. They'll give you 60 minutes, 1 hour, and you're supposed to complete the two tasks, right? So you can even do 22 minutes, 38 minutes and all, but ideally the given rule of thumb is that in and around 20 minutes, and you spend, because there's higher weightage. Task 2 is weighed higher. Your net score in writing comes because of how good you perform in this, so obviously you're supposed to put more time into that. The second task is, simply we call it essay task or essay, where you're supposed to write, a point of view, an argument, like, something is happening, what do you think is right? Right, let's say for example, one of the topic could be that working before you starting your university is a good idea, right? They'll put some statement like, do you agree with it or not, something like that. So they'll ask you a topic statement and they ask you to detail it out based on your opinion. Sometimes they ask you, there are almost 7 essay types, right, which we generally discuss. So you should make sure you are comfortable with all those types, because we don't know what type of an essay is going to come, but more or less it's just an essay that you need to write. Whereas in general training, the task 2 is same. You're supposed to write an essay, but task 1 is a letter writing. You will be writing a letter. There are 3 letter write types: formal, semi-formal, informal. Formal is like you're writing to a proper, like your boss in your office context or something, work context. Semi-formal is more like, let's say you're writing a request to, let's say, as I was talking about gym membership, right? You're trying to reach out to some company, but they are not really your boss or something, but you're trying to keep it a little bit semi-formal because they are not your friends. Finally, you write an informal, which is to write your friends to wish them for something or something. So that's how they'll type. You might get one of those 3. You will get one of those 3. You just have to be comfortable in writing all the 3 types, right? Salutation, how should I introduce, how should I close the letter and all. So these are some basic tips that you need to understand to write a proper a letter. So that's what writing is more about. I'll get to that structuring part. So 2 essays, 60 minutes. So how do I get graded on? So these are the 4 parameters on which they grade you. First and foremost is called task achievement or task response. So fundamentally it's about, did the student handle what's being given to him? If it's a graph, was he able to understand the graph and write the information that is correct as per the graph? Forget about the language and all. I'm only talking about, if the graph is increasing, did you also say that the graph is increasing? If you misinterpreted it, then obviously you have not achieved the task well. Have you written about the given information in the graph, or have you written something which is not in the context? So all of these things will make them score you on the task achievement and task response. Let's say this is talking about working before joining a university, and you're talking about writing work after university, then you're obviously moving out of the discussion that is being asked. So did this guy or girl understood the topic being given? Did they talk about it? That is what is going to give you a good score over here, right? And did they write required number of words? If you write only 100 words for 150, you'll get lesser score because you've not achieved the required task. So all of those parameters would be counted for the first part. Let's say a student was given, they'll give individual bands. They give you 7 out of 9. There's something called band descriptors. You can just Google it. You'll find in the official website. They write about what makes you get 7, 8, 9 for each of the band as well, for writing task and speaking task. They're called band descriptors. You can just search them. Coherence and cohesion is basically about, is the person able to connect the ideas well? I'm talking about something suddenly out of nowhere, I'm coming to something new, then it is not in a coherent structure, right? You need to make sure it's flowing like a water, like a clear flow of ideas that you're trying to communicate. This is about the structuring of thoughts. Then comes your vocabulary, how well the student has the vocabulary, right? Using the same words again and again, decreasing, 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 decreasing will not give you a great score. Decreasing, diminishing, right? Marginally dropping, something you just have to keep using some synonyms to convey things on the similar lines so that you're showing your vocabulary. The lexical is the vocabulary range, right? Finally, the grammar and the accuracy. It's basically about, okay, is the student writing the subject verb agreement, tenses, past, present properly? There's something called simple sentence versus compound sentences. If you write compound and complex sentences with clauses, ideas being connected, that's where people will score you better. That's how complex sentences are written. So they're happy to give you a better score for that. If you write simple sentences of the entire passage, you'll not get a great score for that. So let's say a student got like 7 and 6 here and 7 here and 8 here overall. So some people might have a great grammar, okay, but they were not able to structure the things well. So they'll get less. It's an individual thing. Maybe your grammar skills are poor, but there are certain things you can improve. This one task achievement is easy to improve, and coherence is also easy to improve if you practice the structures. You don't write it, we already have a set structures, you just try to use the template and try to keep filling the information and learn some words and all, at least see the topics that are being asked, and you can do this is how people improve. Okay, that's how you improve. You can't improve your grammar in a week or a month, but there are certain things you can improve to improve your score. So on the whole, the overall average 7 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 by 4 is what they do to get. So 13, 20, 28 by 4 is approximately 6.75, which is rounded off to 7. That's what you get your IELTS writing score as, if you get individual scores like it. They give individual bands, they add it, divide by 4, it's average, and they'll give you, round it off. They round it off to the, like 6.6, 6.7 will be rounded off to 6.5, 6.75, 6.8, 6.9 will be rounded off to 7. That's how they round off. Similarly, for how the writing is evaluated, you have something speaking. There are 3 parts. You're supposed to speak. They'll ask you some general questions about your family, home, etc. It'll be 4 to 5 minutes. You're supposed to answer in 3-4 lines, simple answers. The part 2 is about a cue card. You'll be asked to pick up a card randomly. There'll be topic like, okay, talk about your favorite travel destination. Talk about your role model in life, right? Idol in your life, etc. So you're supposed to prepare for 1 minute and talk for 2 minutes. If you talk for less than that, again, you are not achieving the task, so you'll get lesser score for it. So that's a basic thing you should not miss out. And finally, whatever you talked upon in the topic 2, part 2, there will be follow-up questions. The examiner will ask, okay, you said that Gandhiji is your role model, so why can't it be someone else? Why do you think so? They'll keep asking some questions on what you have spoken about. So it will be further to have a discussion with you on that topic that you have talked about, and see how well you can talk. On the whole, it takes you almost 10 to 15 minutes, not more than that, to complete the speaking round. And they would evaluate you on these 4 things: the fluency and coherence. The more you stutter, the more you stop, you cannot speak continuously, you are losing out on that. And how well you structure your thoughts again matter. Again, as I said, the same coherence part. Are you taking the ideas clearly? Are you just picking up random thoughts here and there? The lexical results, vocabulary obviously, and the grammar range, again, are you speaking grammatically correct in the tenses, the agreement, subject verb agreements, etc. And finally comes your pronunciation. See, accent is not considered here. Someone can pronounce the words better but have some accent. There's a difference between pronunciation and accent. Learn how to pronounce the words better. That's what you need to learn. So pronunciation is a very important thing that they will grade you on. But all of us Indians would have accent by default, right? Or rather, every non-native speaker would have their own accent. So that does not stop you from getting good score. What stops you is that if you cannot pronounce the words as per the grammar or the English language, how people pronounce the words, etc. And these are the 4 parameters. Again, they grade you from 0 to 9. They do average and they give you the overall right speaking score as per the scoring system that they have. Right, so this is how the scoring works. So let's move to the next topic. Can I prepare for IELTS on my own? Okay, I'll just do one thing before I move ahead. So how is the overall scores calculated, right? So you will get listening. Let's say a student who got 7 in listening. The reading, he got 7.5. Writing, he got 6.5, and speaking, he got 6. Let's say these are the individual scores that I have discussed about how individual scores are the bands are calculated. How does a person get overall? It's simply the average of all the 4. 7 plus 7.5 plus 6.5 plus 6 by 4, which is basically what, 14, 21, 27 by 4, which is 6.24. No, I think this is 6.7 actually. Yeah, so this will turn out to be 7. So again, the overall scores would also be like 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, etc. So if you are in between, depending on the closer value you are in, they'll round it off. So I got 6.75 here, they'll round it off, say your overall IELTS score is 7. Even if you get 7.2, you'll still be rounded off to 7. A bit unfair, but that's how it works, right? So even if you do well, maybe if I got 7 over here, I would have still be landed off in 7 only as an overall. So that's the overall band score that you get. That's how they do it. Just add the individual band scores divided by 4 to get the overall band score after rounding it off. So the next question is, can a student prepare for IELTS on his or her own? See, a lot of people I see believe that they can, and some people don't believe that they can. They need some support and all. So the answer for that is depends on your ability right now and what's your desired score. So for me, a simple answer will be yes and no, and it simply depends on what's your expectation and what's your current skill set, a basic communication skills. So let me ask you a question before I move ahead. What do you think is the global average, or Indian average, or across the world, the average IELTS academic and average IELTS general training scores, bands? Can people just try it? It's fine, just keep giving a shot, right? What do you think is the average IELTS score across the world? Academic is different from general, so there are two different average scores, but just give it a shot. What do you think would be the average scores as per your understanding or as per your guess? Okay, 6.5. For what, academic or general? Also name that. So that because there are two different scores for both of them. So 7 for general training. Okay, Tejul, great. Come on, try it. No, it's nothing wrong in guessing it. You get it right or you don't get it right. So and if you get it right, I'll appreciate you again. I congratulate you for getting it right. Otherwise, nothing. Okay, I will get a gift if you guess it right. 7 for an academic. Okay. Come on, there are more than 30 people. You can just make a guess. Like 6 for academic. Okay. That's it. No more guesses. Fine, fairly not a very bad guesses actually, to be frank. The average, I don't know why it's taken from the official IELTS website, ielts.org itself. I don't know why they've done it gender wise to just show you something. But on the whole, if you look at academic, it's 6.1, right? So I would put it like 6 to 6.1 is the overall average across the world. This is based on 2019 test takers, almost 3 million test takers. That's 30 lakh people have taken it 2019. So based on which they have given the calculated data. So the academic average across the world is 6.1, 6 to 6.1, and you can clearly see the easiest of the lot is listening, which is what everyone would believe in. Right, 6.3, 6.3 is what you're seeing, and the hardest would generally be the writing to score higher. The listening, reading are easier than writing and speaking. You'll see slightly lesser, right? So that's how you can also observe this. And it comes to general training, the average is 6.5 to 6.6. Right, so you are way off for the academic, so I'll say 6 to 6.1, right? It's not 7 or 6.5, but yeah, 6 is the average for academic and 6.5 is the average for general training across the world. Now let's come for Indian data, right? So this one is for specifically Indians. The academic mean is also the same. You see, the average of Indians is pretty much same on the global average. It's not much of a difference you're seeing. Again, we find listening is easier than reading is relatively, and speaking, Indians I think are finding speaking a little bit easier, I guess, than the reading across compared to the world. So but you see something like it again here also. You see listening is very high, and then reading is fine, speaking is still better, and this is for the general training people. So you see 6 to 6.5 is, so what does that mean? I'll also show you a couple more data. Maybe I don't have this here. Yes, I'll put you this. If you ask me what do you think is a good score to have for a general training students, you should look at 7.5 as a basic score you should have on the overall, right? Because you talk about Canada PR, or you talk about the Australia especially, you need to have 8 to get highest possible points. 7.5 would also work, but then your rest of the point system should be very well. But I tell you, even for Canada, that's a basic thing every immigration team would suggest, that 7.5 is what you need to get on the whole. And out of the number of test takers, I don't have it written here, but you can check in the IELTS org, the research page of that, you'll find the data. There are only around I think 20 to 25% of the test takers who have scored more than 7.5 or 7.5 in the last year. That means out of every 4 people, only one or even slightly less than that are getting the desired score. What happens with the rest of the people? They either have to drop their idea or re-attempt it. I have seen people who does it 7-8 times also, right, to attempt it to get the desired score. They're stuck at that half point. They're at 7. They can't move to the 7.5. They're struggling to somehow jump into that zone and all. They keep trying it and hope that they'll do. The only problem in that is that they're not trying to improve themselves. They're just trying to book a seat again and again, hoping it works. That's where I find it a problem. And when it comes to academic, I would tell you, I would put it as a 7. That's my recommendation. If someone is serious about doing good in their life, get into a good university. See, for US example, GRE is the most important metric. IELTS 6.57, you're making it to universities. It doesn't really differ if you get 8 or 7. But anything less than 7, especially for UK and Canada, you are missing out on some of the good universities you could get into, right? So 6.5 is the bare minimum. That's like the very, very basic thing for me. Don't try to get below that. But 7 is what I would strongly recommend as a metric that you should look at least, right? That's what I suggest for that. Again, if you look at it, only 40% of the test takers get 7 and above. That means out of every student that is attempting, there are at least 2 students or slightly less than 2 students who are not getting the required score of 7, if you talk about. So that way, is it easier thing? If it is so easy, then why is not everyone getting it, right? The desired scores are this. As I said, it is easy to get 6. Maybe you can walk in and get a 6. But then does that work in any way? Not really, right? Your desired scores are different and your skill set is at a 6. So you need to make a jump to that. That is where you need to definitely give the due respect to it. Whether you take coaching on, it's a different story, but you need to put an effort to make sure you understand the pattern, understand how much you're scoring in mock tests, and then see where you're struggling and how you need to improve it. Because the point is this, the cost of IELTS is 14,000. It's not a cheap way to figure out whether you are getting your desired score or not. There are much easier options to figure out whether you will get your desired score or not before spending 14,000. So I'll give you an example for that. So we have brought up this concept just for that purpose only. We have diagnostic tests on our website. It's a 100 rupee test. It's a 1.5 hour test which checks all your 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Right? It's taken at your own convenience. Speaking, you record your voice into the system. The writing, you'll write an essay. The listening and reading, you'll mark the answers. It's half the actual IELTS test. Everything that you see in IELTS, we have put half of it so that it's not a very long test, but it's good enough for us to judge your skill set. For general training, we have it, and for academic training also, we have the diagnostic test. You can just go to our website gtcube.com, go to the store. You find study abroad category inside our store. You'll find our IELTS diagnostic test for just 100 rupees. So this will be a 1.5 hour test, and after taking the test, you get a 30-minute call with our experts, the IELTS experts, where they'll assess where you stand right now, what's your individual band scores for listening, reading, writing, and speaking, and how much you need to grow to get your desired score. Right? That's the basic transition that we suggest. And the reason why we tell you this, even if students join our courses, we ask them to first take the test for a purpose that we have so many courses. We would recommend the relevant course based on where they're standing right now. So sometimes we get students who are good at a very basic level but not at a level which is required to get the desired band score, right? We recommend them to take a live training with us, or anywhere for that matter. Whether you feel we are better or someone else is better is a different choice, but at least you can experience us, where we give you training, mock tests and all. Some people are very good in most of the things, but they only are struggling with writing or speaking. So we tell them, okay, take this only with us, because you need only working on that part. Maybe you can take mocks also, where you get 5. If you want more, we'll also give you more, where you get the trainer. Every mock test, we'll have a feedback analysis session with our expert, which means they'll tell you where you're struggling, how you need to improve. So that's how we'll also improve with that, right? We give you paper-based or computer-based. We have all the things you can take, right? And then decide which module would you want, or maybe you do your own self-preparation, you just want practice and all. And we see some students who are not really good. For them, even the group, we generally keep a batch of 4 to 5 to keep it more personalized. Some people might want only one-on-one. So if you are at not a very great stage, or you want only specific things to be covered, we also do that. So all the things are available, but we will tell you first, take it. Whether you take a, not just with us, anywhere, understand whether where you stand and accordingly decide whether what is my current position. Let's say I'm at a 7. My desired score is 7.5. It's not a big journey to undergo. With some 40-50 hours of training, mock test, practice, mock test and all, you'll slowly jump into that. Getting few tips and tricks, you'll easily make it to that. It's at 6, and coming to 7.5 is a long journey to undergo. You have to understand and accept it and start taking the support. Understand that, don't just underestimate it assuming it's a very easy exam, right? It's not easy for everyone. If it was so, then I don't think 70%, 80%, 60% of people are not getting the desired score when they take the test, right? So that's what I wanted to say on this. So can I prepare for IELTS on my own? As I said, the answer is yes or no, depending on what's your skill set and what's your desired band. So just understand what is the answer for you. Take the diagnostic test. It's just a 100 rupee test. As I said, right, 14,000 of money that you spend on IELTS before you book a slot. We recommend our students to first take a test with us too. So we tell you whether you are at the right level or not, so that you can book the slot accordingly. Right. Then the one preparation material. Right. So let's jump to that. We have books. The Cambridge is the company which conducts IELTS. They have editions which they release every year. So this has mock tests, 4 mock tests. So definitely these are good mocks to practice. Right, we slightly try to have a mix of this questions, this level of questions, as well as try to slightly pick up harder ones in our mocks, for a reason that we want people to practice like the difficult ones so that they find the actual test easier. But I believe this is a very good books to pick to practice mocks, right? Cambridge, you find the books, you can just practice them. The only problem in these books for practice on your own is that writing and speaking you don't get the evaluation, right? The listening and reading you can check how much you got, but the writing and speaking is where you'll struggle. That's why you need a human to help you out, how good you have done, what's your score, how you can improve and all. But still, it's a good books to practice from, to see the questions, get used to the pattern, the exam and all. There are other resources that I'll tell you in the websites, in the internet, you can find. They are also selling their paid services, but they have good free content also which you can find. IELTSlist.com, IELTSmentor.com is another one which you find, and then IELTSadvantage.com. So they do sell some things, but they also do a lot of free stuff which you can find for writing, speaking, some material, some questions. How do you write? How do you structure it? You can find some nice videos as well. It's a very good mentors which do a very great job with respect to what they're teaching. So you can find some useful material over here as well. So if you are doing self preparation, so definitely mocks, do not underestimate it. At least take 4 to 5 marks before actually taking the test. You are not used to take 3 hours of exam. Your brain has to be very active for it. You're not used to write. After a long time, you're going to write it on a paper based. If you're going for it, it's not an easier task. So get yourself used to doing that. And most importantly, get feedback from some experts so that you know where you're struggling and accordingly improve and get a better score. That's what I would recommend you to do. Right. So the last one, frequently asked questions, before I take up your questions, is this. So as I said, I'll take up these 3 questions and then I'll take up all your questions if you have any. IDP versus British Council, which one is easier? So first, let me clarify this. The company which sets the question, or the body which sets the questions, is this Cambridge Assessment English, which is located in UK, and they are the co-owners along with British Council and IDP. IELTS is owned by IDP, British Council and Cambridge. All 3 of them are owners. Okay. These 2 companies conduct the exams. The question paper is set by these people, and on a particular day, if you write exam in IDP or British Council on the same slot, same day, you'll get the exactly same questions. No questions are different, right? So how does it matter whether you take IDP or British Council? Hey, reading, listening are same, writing tasks are same, but who is going to correct my writing and who is going to take my speaking? That is going to be different. The evaluators, the humans are different in these 2 companies. And I've heard my friend saying that IDP does give me easier score. Or my friend told me British Council is more lenient. I'll tell you, no sane company would do that, because they are all in this together. They do not want to affect each other by saying we are better than the other, right? They are together in this journey. They are just trying to make it easier to conduct the exams by taking some centers individually, right? So they will not do that, because if one of them is doing it, the other will complain, and they're all owning it together. There will be a mess, and it will never happen. And you don't have enough data to also prove that someone is easier to score than the other. But what can happen, right, is something a humans always can experience, is a particular evaluator could be lenient, right? An IDP in particular city, that person is very kind enough that they don't really want to affect someone's career. Maybe they give a half band more, right? That can happen. That is always a human thing, and we cannot, obviously no one can say. Maybe if you have inside information, you're really confident, that's a choice. But otherwise, on a very superficial level, no company intentionally does something, okay, let's give more easier score to this student, or let's get more students because we give easier score, because other company will not stay idle with it, and all of them are together in this thing. They're not 2 different ones competing, they're rather together in this journey, so they don't do that. But you can indeed experience based on, as I said, humans are again kind. They have clear instructions on how to grade, but again, half band is something debatable. They can give slightly on the better side for your favor, right? So that's a kindness of some instructor or evaluator. So maybe something, you can choose it, but otherwise, leaving that, I'll tell you, look for more like which center is closer to me, and infrastructure of the center is good. Like, I should be not having any disturbance, because listening, if you are having any disturbance, you will not be able to listen properly. So right, you should look for that. Go to center before you book the slot. Maybe see how the surroundings are, how well the infrastructure is and all. If you ask me, that's what you should be more worried about rather than thinking IDP is better or British Council is better. Right, each center is different. Try to get into that, try to understand and accordingly take a decision. Otherwise, on a global level or a national level, there is no answer which one is easier. Do not expect that, or it will not be happening either. Right, that's what my strong understanding or what I would tell you from experience, not just mine, even the other trainers that I've come across in the industry. The computer and paper based one, which one is easier? There is no fixed answer for it. Again, it depends on what's your purpose. Some people find it easy to take it on computer, right? Some people find it easy on paper. When they're reading, I can underline in paper easily, which is more, for annotation purpose. You can do in computer based also. Highlighters are there, but they are not something we are very used to based on our human, our past of writing exams on paper. Writing task in paper based, you have to write handwritten, right? Some people feel scared of writing because they have not done it in the recent times, so maybe they find typing is better. Handwriting is not a big worry as long as it's readable. Don't worry about it. So that's another choice, but speaking is anyways the face to face. Doesn't matter whether you do it computer or paper based. So someone who is very comfortable with the computer, right, who feels that they are doing better in that, writing is easier for them and all, maybe they can take computer. Otherwise, paper is something you can choose if you prefer it. Again, it's an individual choice. So what we recommend our students to do generally is that take both the tests. That is, we give them a PDF based test as well and also the computer based in our system. They take both on the experience and then they get to know what suits them better and accordingly decide. The advantage with computer is that it gives you results faster and also you can book it very easily, 5 days a week, whereas this one happens only once a week on average. So it's very hard to get a slot if you're looking for paper, but computer based is much easier because there are a lot many slots to take. But again, it's a choice depending on how well you advance your booking and how urgent you are in, and accordingly you can decide. Otherwise, there is no difference between both the tests in terms of questions, the difficulty, exactly the same paper on the same slot, so you don't find anything different. It's just a matter of which one is served better for your skill set, right? I mean, can you read on paper, can you read on computer screen better, etc. So again, it's a personal choice, experience, and decide which one is better for you. The IELTS indicator test, as I said, is a thing which is conducted in the COVID situation. You can take it from home. It does exactly the same. It's same as IELTS test. It's replacement for academic. It does not work for general training purpose students. And the best part, the not so great part, is that it's accepted only by 10% of universities. So still, IELTS actual test is the thing to take. I would not recommend people to go for this. They have just started it in the COVID time. They are hardly getting the traction now. Also, I don't see whether they'll take it forward better in the next few years. But at least at this point of time, this is not a test to look at. Do not focus on it. Rather, just jump into the actual test and take it. Now it's open, centers are running, so you can just go and take the actual test if you are in a hurry as well. Right, so that's what I would say. So that's it from my side. I'll keep it open for Q&A. Right, so we have a demo class. If you are interested, the dates are a little bit off, but they are like next Monday and Tuesday basically. That's like what, 28th and 29th. You will get a mail. If you're interested, you can enroll and sit and see. Our expert trainer will take a class on the writing and speaking, so you can see what you can get in training and understand how much of support you can get. If you're interested, you can take the diagnostic test also. So just follow us. So visit our website. We have a lot of free content. We keep doing a lot of free stuff also. So if you could be interested, you can just follow us, subscribe to us. Right, so that's it from my side. Now I'll take up the questions. So you can just keep posting them. So professional nurse, can you give me information about job in abroad for BSc nursing in UK, Canada, Australia? So actually, I am not really a very expert in. So that's what I said. It's in December. Tanya, that's a mistake. That's tomorrow and day after tomorrow. The one is 28th December and 29th December. That's tomorrow and day after tomorrow from 8 to 9 and 5 to 6. You have the demo. Right. Frankly, Sarfraz, the opportunities are very good in Canada right now. But in general nursing, UK is also a good country to go. But I'm not really very aware of this specific domain, to be frank. So you have to definitely talk to someone who has done this journey of going there and then figuring out a job. Ideally, people do two things. Number one, people first look for a job opportunity before they go. Somehow they figure it out and then do, but that's very less likely to happen. Some people just get in there, then have 1 year of time to look for a job and then find a job. Opportunities are there for sure, nursing, especially in Canada at this point of time. But what skill set do you have and what kind of specific roles do you need to take any certifications, exams? This is something that I am not really aware of it, so I'm not the best person to answer that, to be frank. So sorry for that. Tanya, as I clearly said again, so maybe if it's not clear for you, So this is 28th December and 29th December. You would have received a mail also with the details. You can check the new poster. Validity is for 2 years. The IELTS exam is valid for 2 years. I've shown you in the beginning, right? So let me just show you again. Both all the ELP exams are valid for 2 years. So you will get it for 2 years. You take it now, you can use it till you get into a country within the next 2 years. What kind of IELTS? Sarfraz, you should take IELTS general if you're looking for a job. IELTS academic is for people who want to go for higher studies like masters or PhD or bachelor's. If you're not going for study purpose, you're going for the immigration job purpose, you should take IELTS general test. For MS in US, completed my GRE, but I don't take IELTS test till now. I didn't take. Okay. Expect to take IELTS at the end of January. What is the deadline for fall 2021? See, Praneeth, I'll tell you. Ideally, can you also put your GRE score to just make me understand how good your profile is, if you don't mind. Otherwise, I'll tell you. Top universities have stopped the. I mean, the deadlines would have been in December and January mid. If you are taking in the end of Jan, I'm expecting you to be able to apply in Feb. There are some good universities in February and March. My last date will be March mid, where you'll see most of the good universities, average universities close. Right, beyond that you will find universities, but those are not the best universities a student can get in. So my take is, make sure you write IELTS as soon as you can, a TOEFL or IELTS, whatever you want to take, by end of this Jan, because you've not started. So I assume you should take a month of time to prepare and get a decent score. Once you have that, also start applying in Feb. If you're interested, you can reach out to us. We can also help in admission counseling. We can do free counseling also. Right, but anyways, if you're interested, you can check our website, the study abroad about USA, and see. We also partner universities. We have scholarships running, and we also give free application waiver for certain universities and all. So you can check all of this information on our website. If you're interested, you can reach out to us. My answer is, try to close it by Jan and be ready with your SOP, LOR, transcripts and all to apply in Feb. The later you do, the opportunities to apply for decent universities are going to be missed. Generally, Jan mid, Feb mid, and March mid. These are the three deadlines. I would say you'll start to see the quality of universities being available, which are good. But beyond that, you'll start to see a huge dip in the quality. Right? Those are like universities which are just waiting for the students to apply, and they'll give you an admit. There are a lot of universities I can tell you which give you an admit. But again, are those the best ones you can get in? And is that what you want to do in your life? That's something you have to really think about. No, we do not provide offline classes. We provide only online classes. Any more questions you have on IELTS or GRE, or maybe the admissions or anything else? So I assume that you guys got some information that's very helpful, that would help you in your IELTS journey. Right? If you feel we can help you with the courses or any of the, take the diagnostic if you're interested, and otherwise you can also look at our demo classes. Right? Thanks a lot. All the best. If you feel we can help you with anything, reach out to our team. Right? We will try to do whatever we can do, and we'll help you with the best we can. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you soon. All the best. Prince, you can do that, but you won't get an admission with the GRE later. You can by the time the admission applications ends, you can apply with the GRE score is being about to come. Within 1 2 weeks, you're supposed to send it. You will never get an admission in an university without GRE score if they say GRE is mandatory. Right now, for fall 2021, 25% of universities, that is, I would say 1/4 of universities have waived off. So you can maybe only apply for them if you want to apply without GRE. Right? That's something that you can decide, but I would not recommend that. I would strongly recommend you to take things, and then but you can do this, that let's say there's a deadline in Jan 15th and you're taking your IELTS, but you're waiting for to get score. So you can definitely apply and say to the university that I have given the exam, or I am about to give the exam. It will come in 1 to 2 weeks. So they'll keep your application on hold. You can you can apply and then send the score. Then they will consider your application. That is something that we have seen some students being able to manage. So that can happen, but again, I'll tell you, you have to be very quick in that and don't delay it further. Otherwise you will just lose your application fee as well, because universities will just put your application aside. Right? I will strongly recommend you to make sure you write the exam by end of Jan and start applying by Feb, right? So that you will get good number of university suitable for your profile, and accordingly figure out that. Right? Hope it was useful. Thanks a lot, guys. All the best. If you feel we can help you, as I said, you can just reach out to us. Thank you.